is Indie Impact, free or cheap games that you probably haven't heard of. My name is Pixelation, as I said. Spell it right. The C stands for the complex that I have when people misspell my name, because a lot of people misspell my name. In fact, fun fact, I was a guest at Ikicon this past May, and they misspelled my name. At that point, I was like, I had a little bit of an episode where I was like, is it really that hard? Like, it's just the word pixelation with a C. It's not that difficult. But I am very much trying to be like, I want to make, when you type the word pixelation the normal way into Google, I want it to autocorrect to my name. That's a long-running goal of mine. But yes, you can subscribe to me on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, TikTok, Facebook. I'm on pretty much everything except for Snapchat because I do not have friends to Snapchat with. Or I have friends, but none of them use Snapchat, or if they do, I do not want to Snapchat them. So, anyway.
My name's Gabby. I'm just here.
Yes, Gabby is like shadowing me as a panelist. She wants to find out what it's like. So, hi, Gabby.
Hi.
So, just a little bit before we get started, just a little bit of another plug. I recently started making shirts. If you would like a shirt that says Boku no Pico Academia, and to try to explain it to your parents why it says that, good luck. Also, if you'd like one that says maybe like, I want Avril Lavigne to hurt me emotionally, because, you know, sometimes you just want a very attractive singer from the 90s to hurt you emotionally. But that being said, if you want any of those, you can find them at pixelation.redbubble.com. And, in fact, anybody here, I'm not going to like get too in-depth with it. Anybody here go to Age or Not Age last night? No? Okay. Oh, we got some babies in here. That being said, I was going to say that the host was wearing the What That Tongue Do shirt, and I was like, I've never seen it in person, and I'm so happy. But anyway, so who here really likes to play indie games, like kind of off the beaten path? Okay? Hopefully, you will walk away from here with at least one or two games that you are going to go look up and hopefully play. Most of these games, if not all of them, I highly recommend. I think that they're all great for different reasons. And we are going to jump into the first one now. Okay, well, we're off to a good start, This is Raised by Warpfish Games. If you like kind of the speed-runny, very, very repetitive, addictive, trial-based gameplay, this is definitely the one for you. I remember first playing this, and when I played this, I was working a graveyard shift, essentially, from about 4 p.m. to midnight or 12:30. And I remember coming home at 12:30 and turning it on, and I would not turn it off till about 5 a.m. I just could not get over it hit that pleasure center of my brain so hard that I could not turn it off. Very, very fun, very addicting, very frustrating, very difficult. I gotta say, it's one of those things that, like, part of the reason why I was playing it so much is because it's one of those games where every time you die, you immediately start back to where you last were. So there's not really any kind of time in between dying and respawning where you can say, I could be doing better things with my life right now. So instead, it's like a snap. So you're able to continuously play as long as you really want to. Okay, cool. So that being said, the This game is available on PS4, Xbox, PC, and Switch, all for $11.99. Highly recommended. I think that it is definitely worth the money based on the enjoyment that I got out of it and the enjoyment that I'm sure that if you like these kinds of games that you will as well. So one thing that I want to just point out, the reason this panel is called Indie Impact is because there is a periodic series on my channel called Indie Impact where I basically do what I'm doing here. I highlight certain really small indie games that I get keys for, and I will tell you if they're an impact or if they're a setback, and whether or not you should buy them based on the price range, certain features in the game. Like for example, Friday afternoon, I posted a new episode of Indie Impact, and there are certain games where it's like, even if I had fun with it, if I feel like it's not really worth the price, if it's not like you're not going to get the most enjoyment out of it, it might be a setback. Whereas a game could like completely revolutionize what I expected from it, and get an impact status out of that. So definitely go check out the series as well. You'll see some of these games in that series on the Bane Pixelation channel. But yeah, any questions on Race so far? Okay. Yes.
Is it similar to games like
Cool map
Sonic
game?
Mania, Sonic Green Heroes, like Racing Icon type games like that?
I'm sorry. Which games did you mention?
Huh?
Like the Sonic which game?
Sonic Mania or Sonic Green. There was a Sonic game on Dreamcast, I remember.
Yeah, I could see maybe a little bit. There is definitely a time-based trial aspect to it. There is actually a story to this, and then without sounding too much, the story is basically that you are a failed video game character, and the enemy is the developer. And basically, the developer suffers from imposter syndrome, wants to delete everything he's ever done because he's embarrassed by it. So you have to, you as the video game character have to escape the unfinished levels, basically, that the developer has come up with. And also something to keep a note of is that your left and right shoes are sentient. Your left, I believe it's your left shoe is like kind of like the left brain, like analytical, calm, patient, and your right shoe just wants to blow up. So while you are running through the levels, you have to basically like keep your power gauge balanced. Otherwise, you will explode and then you respawn. So not only are you having to race from point A to point B, but you have to race from point A to point B while also trying to balance your energy and not blow up in the middle of it, which causes some problems, to say the least. Especially if you're like this close from the end. I remember the first time I did this kind of panel, I actually had the game up and running, and I let people come play it. And it was one of those things where we spent way too much time playing it because everybody was like, I want to win! And it was like, I don't think you're going to be here long enough to win, buddy. But that being said, any other questions on Raised? Yes.
Is it like, it's a game in cool map games where you're running down and tiles are falling behind you. I don't know if anyone's played it because cool map games is dead now, I think. But I think is it like that?
I don't even know what game you're about, honestly. But that being said, I feel like I don't know. I have a very select memory for Flash games, so a lot of those probably just are in the blind spot of my memory.
I don't know. It's similar to this one.
Yeah, I imagine that like any kind of 3D racing platformer, you might get something familiar out of this, but for the most part, I just dig the aesthetic, the music, all that. It's great. So, moving on.
Rated E for everyone.
a shorter preview, but that's for good reason. This is North. Anybody play North? Good, good, good. 2 for 2. So in North, developed by Outlands and Sometimes You, or published by Sometimes You, this is a game that is set, or it's made to be played in about an hour. I believe that's around 30 minutes to an hour. It's very, very short game, which is why it's only anywhere from $3 to $5. I like to believe, and it's not really confirmed. This is very much my interpretation, but it's meant to kind of parallel the immigration crisis in the world. You play as a man who is in a brand new city, but you don't know the language being spoke. You don't have anybody that you know there. You literally have to find out how to, the process of becoming a citizen in this country that you can't understand what's going on. You can't, you don't have anybody to lean on, and so you just kind of feel your way around in the dark until you find out what's going on. And honestly, it's the kind of game where when I first played it, I thought it was broken because I was just too dumb to understand what was going on. But then I found out what was going on and I realized, wow, yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense, never mind. It's just one of those things where they don't tell you what you're meant to be doing, so you kind of just have to try everything until something clicks. If you're not a huge fan of those kinds of games, you might rage quit. But if you are, I definitely recommend this one. Available on PS4, Xbox, PC, Switch, for different prices, as you can see on the panel slide as well. Questions about North? Anybody? Okay, cool. So that makes things simple. Anybody feel like they might want to give this one a try? Okay, a couple people. Good, good, good. Sometimes You has been really good to the channel. They offer a lot of indie games and keys to review. Unfortunately, because I've been out of the loop for a couple of years, I have a long backlog of indie games that I need to play. A lot of them by Sometimes You. So. Anybody here play Omori? Okay, a couple people. Good, good. This is a game that, okay, I love this game, okay? If you've played Undertale, if you've played, that whole, the Deltarune Undertale, like if you like games that are like throwbacks to, Earthbound era style games, but with a twist, this is definitely one of the games that you definitely need to check out. It's unbelievable. The artwork is done. The entire development process was done by the art collective called Omocat. Anybody heard of Omocat before? Okay. So their art style is definitely a very unique one, and it really lends itself well to a video game format. Right around the time when I started playing this, I was streaming it. I streamed the entire thing. I believe all of the footage is now gone, and for good reason, because I basically had I had a fit towards the end, because it is one of those very polarizing endings that is fantastically written and hinted at really well, but it made me mad because I was like, how did I not see it coming? And it just kind of made me a little bit viscerally upset. But then after I got a chance to digest it a little bit, it was one of those endings that it made a lot of sense. It made me. It was one of those things where it was like, I guess what I'm trying to say is throughout the course of the game you get to know these characters, and to think that these characters that you didn't know them is kind of like, how dare they? How dare they do something that I could not have predicted that they would do.
Basically Undertale.
Basically Undertale. And I also, right around the time when I started playing this, I saw this meme that Coach, who was actually here doing H&H last night, sent me. Because he knows, me and him go back way back, and he knows the kind of games that I'm into. And the meme he sent me was like, don't trust the white boy's Steam recommendations, because he's going to tell you to play an Earthbound-inspired 2D platformer that's secretly about depression. And I was like, I literally, day before, I recommended he play Omori, and he was like, yep, I had to send it to you, because it makes so much sense knowing who you are. And I'm like, ugh, they're seeing through my facade. But anyway, yes, Omori is available only on PC for the time being. I believe that a console port is being thought of or being developed in some way, but you can get it for $20 on PC on Steam, and it is well worth it. It has basically, if you played Undertale, you know it has two major run-throughs, and the same can be said for Omori, maybe to a lesser degree, because there's not major differences with the second one, but just enough differences to make it worth playing a second time, I suppose. But any questions on Omori?
How many hours of playtime?
Oh boy, I think it was 20 per playthrough. I think I got through it in about 20. And that was just, I can't say I was doing everything, so it might be a little more, but I think that the average is about 20 something. But yeah, so definitely give this one a shot. It's so good. It was one of those things where I was just I had my mouth agape, just for a good 3 minutes on stream, dead air. Nobody was watching, granted, but still, that's not the point. The point was, if anybody's watching, I'd be just sitting there, what just happened? That kind of thing. It was great. But anyway, moving on.
Rated E for everyone.
In this world, nothing ever starts, and nothing ever ends. If you know where to look, if you know how to listen, you'll always be able to hear a voice.
The ritual of the seasons can change the course of a life. It means my life can be transformed, and yours too.
Be very careful, Fox. There's something strange happening to this forest.
Okay. Anyone played Seasons After Fall? Oh, okay, we got one person. Oh yeah, you're a Let's Player, so that makes sense. You've probably played all these games. But yeah, Seasons After Fall was developed by Swing Submarine, published by Focus Home Interactive. It is a 2D platformer. I would say I have not. Okay, so I'm gonna pull the curtain back a little bit. I have not played Ori and the Blind Forest, or is that that's what it's called?
Yeah.
Ori and the Blind Forest, or the other one. But if I had to say based off of what I've seen in the trailers and of that game, it's very similar in aesthetic to that. 2D platformer, very artistic visuals throughout. You play as a basically a fox spirit who has to go from one end of the forest to the other, collecting the spirits of each of the seasons. And then once you collect those spirits, you can then use you can basically change the weather, change the seasons at will to overcome certain obstacles. So like you saw in the trailer, if you see a geyser, pushing water up, if you need to reach a platform up here, you can turn it to winter, which will freeze it, and you can jump on the pillar. It's things like that. It's very intuitive. You can use each of the seasons in a very interesting way to get from point A to point B. And then there's also a bunch of story elements that happen that very interesting kind of intrigue, and it's just really a really interesting piece of media. I'm not gonna lie. It's been a couple years since I've played it, but I will say that I enjoyed it enough to platinum it. I got the whole platinum trophy on my PS4, and it was one of those things where I just had to play to completion. So it is available on PS4, Xbox, and PC, all for $9.99. I think that's definitely worth it for what you're getting. So, questions on Seasons After Fall? Based off of my, like I said, it's been a couple years. I would say it's definitely maybe about 10 hours, maybe. If that, it might be a little shorter than that, but that's kind of an educated guess. It's not like an incredibly long game. Like there's basically 2 major sections to it, and depending on how fast you play, you could probably hit that at least. So, any other questions? Yes. I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Would you say the platforming style is a little bit more moving and scenic in game control, or does it have some quick sections?
I think I'd say a little bit of both, because I've noticed that like the backgrounds are very artistic, very they took a lot of pride in like the way that they illustrated the backgrounds. It's very beautiful, and like. So they want you to kind of like take your time and kind of see what's going on in the background and how you're going to react to it, I guess. But I believe there are some sections where it's like a little more quick, basically when you're getting from point A to point B. So I'd say a little bit of both, actually, because there are some sections where it's very slow and methodical. Like you have to look at the surroundings and you have to say, okay, what am I going to do? Because there's a lot of puzzles that are like. Especially towards the end game, you're kind of like, okay, there's a big tree in front of me, I have to climb it. How am I going to do that? And you have to use all of the seasons that you've collected at that point to, collect the various lightning bugs to like open up the tree, and it's a crazy kind of puzzle experience. I really enjoy it. But yeah, any other questions on that? Okay. We are probably going to end very early, but we still have about 6 more, so. Hold on one second. Is it not?
Those days, Will used to have a melancholic gaze. Attending customers during the day and working the dungeons during the night was not an easy life. The day he got that old sword, everything changed. He remembered.
Trying to like control it so that it'll turn up, because I think that's the problem, is that it's here. Forgive me 1 second, I'm breaking the 4th wall.
The volume was fine. Yeah, it was fine.
Oh, it was? Okay. It sounded low up here, but then again, I don't know how it sounds up here. As a kid, there were dreams of adventures,
family of shopkeepers. Duty came first. Time passed, and duty kept coming first, year after year. Until that day, when he decided that something was going to change. Maybe there's something we can all learn from Will.
Anyone played Moonlighter? Oh, you haven't? Yeah, it's on Game Pass. If you haven't played it yet, definitely give it a shot. Moonlighter is a game that I rage quit, but despite the fact that I did rage quit it, I definitely recommend it. I'm probably going to go back to it at some point because it is actually a legitimately fun game, despite the fact that I have no idea how to progress past a certain point. But it's fun. The music is soothing, despite the fact that the game itself is absolutely rage-inducing. It is I would say, roguelite kind of concept. The idea that you are a shopkeeper, you go into the dungeons, you defeat monsters, get items that you can then take back to your shop and sell them, which then the proceeds that you get from the items that you sell can be funneled into improving your weapons, adding, forging new weapons, getting items that will help you succeed in the dungeon, and it's a cyclical nature where you're going to go back in the dungeon to get more items. The items that you sell, money, and et cetera, repeat ad infinitum. It's definitely I really enjoyed it because of the fact that it was like I would find myself getting so mad in the dungeons because I kept dying, or I kept barely escaping by the skin of my teeth, and then I would go back to the shop, and it was like, oh, it's like the game is telling me it's okay. You didn't exactly do what you wanted to do, but it's fine. You have another day to give it another shot. Because the soothing music in the shop and throughout the world, there's this kind of music that's like, hey, it's okay. You did your best, and better luck next time. And except that at some point, the better didn't come. So. But, that being said, I really, despite that, I did enjoy it. It is available on PS4, Xbox, PC, and Switch. As I said, it was on Game Pass, so definitely give it a shot if you have that. All for $19.99, or Switch for $24.99, because for some reason, Nintendo has to be difficult about everything. So, if you know, then you know. There are games that came out in 2017 that are still $60, and I think that is absolute blasphemy. But... What's up?
Pokemon.
Yeah.
They sell them for like $70.
Mario Odyssey. I love the game. It's fantastic. Why is it still $60 though? Come on. Especially since they already have 2 or 3 new Mario games that have come out since that are also $60. And it's you would think eventually you would lower it a bit. But I don't want to get on that tangent because we will never get off it. Anybody have any questions about Moonlighter? Yes.
It kind of, the going into the dungeon and going back and running a shop kind of reminds me of Reciteer, if you've ever heard of that.
What's it called?
Reciteer. Racketeer or Reciteer.
Okay. I haven't heard of it, but
I'll send you a link or something.
Yeah,
later.
DM me a link to it because I'll check it out. Because that's one of the things I really liked about this game is that it kind of reminded the shopkeeping aspect kind of even though I don't think you want to shop in Animal Crossing, it reminded me of like an Animal Crossing style thing where like it's as if like hypothetically in New Horizons, if like after talking to your same villagers forever, then you were able to go into like a evil dungeon and like fight monsters. Like it would be kind of like, it reminded me of that kind of concept if that were to happen. But that will probably never happen because they don't know how to update New Horizons. So
the dungeon mechanics also remind me of the Binding of Isaac. I don't know if any of you have heard of that. It's just like you're facing one, you're looking down on it, and you're just shooting things.
Right.
Even the boss.
Yeah, and like I noticed that like if you like, for example, the first weapon you start off with is a broom because you're a shopkeeper and you don't have the money for a broom or whether for a sword, so you just use whatever you got. And so you notice that like at first you're not going to really do much damage, and then you get yourself the beginner sword, and then you can go and you're like, okay, yeah, I can kill low grade slimes now, and then all of a sudden you see a boss that's made of like actual rock, and it's like a sentient rock monster, and it's like, okay, I can't do it with this sword. How can I get? So you basically the name of the game is just improving your equipment, getting the reflexes that you need to get past that monster, and then until you just continue on that path and just keep on finding bosses you can't beat, finding items that can beat them, etc., etc. Again, rinse and repeat. So, moving on. Okay, so I guess the first question I have to ask is, anybody fans of the Toho series? Okay, a couple people. Anybody played Scarlet Curiosity? Okay, so a couple years ago, I was working for a unnamed, I will not name it, entertainment gaming news platform that gave me a key to this game. And honestly, I was like, I don't have a lot of experience with the Toho series. I played a couple of the classics, the 2D sides, the battle bullet hell style games. I played a couple of those. Didn't really find it in my wheelhouse because I could not really, I didn't understand how it was played or anything like that, and I just was like, okay, this looks cool, I'm done. And but I like the characters, the aesthetic of the Toho series kind of has always stuck out to me. The music has always been very remarkable based on my limited knowledge of it. And so I was like, okay, yeah, I'll check this one out. And lo and behold, this was like the first Toho game that I genuinely enjoyed. It was one of those games that I just kept playing. I was like, I have no idea what's happening. It's very clear that it's made for people who are aware of what's happening in Toho, but despite that, you can still enjoy it. I did, as long as you kind of know the basic concept of who the characters are, what their archetype is, the fact that Amelia is a vampire, and that's basically the main gist of it. She's bored with eternal life, so she goes on a desperate search for something to ease her boredom, essentially. And that involves defeating monsters and kind of going down a kind of a spider web of people who are friendly to her, but are like setting up a massive, I guess conspiracy is the best word for it, so that she, can relieve her boredom essentially. But it's really, really interesting. It's available on PS4 for $20, on PC for $15. I have it on PS4. I think that it works a little bit better on PS4 than it might on PC, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's probably the same game. So, questions about this one? Sorry, also, if I am running out of breath, it is very hard to continue talking with the mask on. I do not have a problem with it, but occasionally I breathe in too much and I'm like, anyway, so, yes, moving on from there. You all probably know this one. So, I included this for two reasons, and I'm sure you won't be like, oh, who hasn't heard of Doki Doki? And the two reasons are as such. One, it got re-released recently, and it's relevant again all of a sudden. And two, because I called this panel free or cheap games, and I noticed there was no free games on the list. So I had to include a free game on the list. Because I realized real quick, there's not a whole lot of free games on this in this panel, or really, there's not really a whole lot of free games that are like worth their merit. I mean, there are some, but they're very well hidden, and once you find them, it's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to include it in the panel. But it's like I haven't found any recently, so who here has played Doki Doki Literature Club?
This game gives me nightmares.
Yeah, I streamed it back when it first came out, and it was one of those games that it was like I obsessed over it for a little bit. Excuse me, and like last year, I keep saying last year at San Japan, it didn't happen last year. 2 years ago at San Japan, I got to get an autograph from Dan Salvato, and he's a good dude. And the fact that like he's just really making waves with this game, and I think he deserves it. The Literature Club is insane. It's great. If you are, obviously, as you saw at the beginning, if you are not of sound mind and body, you probably shouldn't play this one.
It's not your regular dating anime girl
it's
simulator.
Not for the faint of heart. It's definitely not for the faint of heart, but it is free. So it's like, you know what they say about Little Caesars? Is it good? No, but it's ready. But in this case, it's good and it's ready and it's free. So it was, like I said, it was recently re-released for PC and consoles with additional content, but that version costs money, and I don't have any of that. So DDLC Plus is available via PC, Switch, PS5, PS4, Xbox, all for $15 digitally. You can buy it physically too, but it's a little bit more, I think. But either way. Questions about Doki Doki Literature Club? Yes.
Would you literally call this a creepypasta?
I'm sorry?
Would you literally call this a creepypasta?
I mean, by its technical definition, by the technical definition of creepypasta, probably not.
Or is that EXE, whatever they call it?
I don't know.
Or one of those bootleg.
I mean, I think the difference between this one and that is like from the outset, you're aware that the DLC is not real, and whereas like Sonic EXE, like to a certain degree, obviously anyone above the age of like 10 knows that it's not real. But like if you played Sonic.exe in like the infancy of the internet, like there was a feasible like, oh, is this a haunted Sonic game? So there's a kind of a difference in the structure, I guess, of the games. But it's definitely, I would say, it's definitely a bait and switch. That's definitely what I would say DDLC is. It's like, it's one of those games where it's like, you see the Steam page and you're like, wait, this looks very cute and bubbly. It's categorized as psychological horror? What? So you kind of have to come to terms with that first and foremost. And I was not able to. All I knew was that it was a dating sim when it first started, and then as it went on, I was like waiting. I was waiting for the ball, waiting for the pin to drop. I was like, well, what's gonna happen? And then it happened, and I was like, Anyway, any other questions? Okay, Keel, let's move on. Who here has played Undertale?
Yeah, should I tell them my sin?
Yes.
I started playing Genocide first.
You're
I knew
evil?
what happened.
You're evil?
I gotta see. Don't be mad at me.
It's okay. When I first started playing it, I killed Tori right off the bat, and then I realized my sin. I literally, as soon as I did, I literally X'd out of it and restarted because I was like, wait a minute, I think I did something bad. And I went to work the next day. I told my coworker who was also playing it, and he was like, "How dare you?" And I was like, "I'm sorry." Undertale is fantastic. It's one of my favorite games of all time. I have like 2 or 3 videos talking about it, gushing over it on my channel. Subtle plug. Go subscribe to me, please. 17 more subscribers. Anyway, that being said, the main focus of this entry in the panel is obviously play Undertale if you have not played it already. It is available for $15 on every platform on demand except for PC, where it's $9.99. And of course, if you want like the Mew Mew content, that's only on Switch, and for good reason, because I have a feeling it's just a boss and that's it. I think that's what I've heard. But the main point of including it is to talk about the sheer amount of fan-made content for this game. Is anybody aware of like just how much there is? Like, yeah, there's a whole bunch of fan-made content of Undertale that has been posted for. Yeah, actually, another video I have is focused on just fan-made content. And like, for example, there is a crossover between Undertale and Mega Man 2, where it's Mega Man 2, but you play levels in Undertale. There's a 2D Super Mario Kart racing game called Under Racer. There's several expansion sequels, other perspectives. For example, the one that I'm about to show you right now called Undertale Yellow. Anyone heard of this one? Okay, so check this out. Yeah, and I believe I played the demo for this one, and I really... Oh, it's not over yet. Fine. It's basically, from what I understand, it's the story of the Yellow Soul. If you know what that means, then you know there's a bunch of souls in Undertale, and there's different colors. And the idea is that it's another story set before the main story. Of course, it's not exactly, depending on how you define canon, it's not exactly canon. But Toby Fox has made it very clear. I think that he's like cool with people exploring other perspectives, because I don't think he's going to do it. So he's just like, well, if y'all want to do it, you're more than welcome to, kind of implicitly maybe. There's many more. Honestly, there's so many other ones. Like, for example, I recently heard of one called TS Underswap, I believe that's what it's called. And it's just basically just swapping all the characters and seeing what would happen if different characters had different duties and responsibilities. It looks really, really good, and I'm gonna give it a shot ASAP.
Okay, a couple questions.
Question? Yes. Yeah.
I think someone ran a documentary on it, and someone thought already expressed how they were moving go and
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Basically, I was saying that we talked a long time presented a documentary on how it prevented exploding wild. It got to the point where there's something that's called under verse, which basically acknowledges like 15 of the major verses that have been ever seen. And that's the whole fault of the whole save percent setting. So it's exploded so big that even one verse that they made had to cover everything from there, and even that in itself is going too far. So it's
I'm gonna have to look into that, because I definitely I basically consume everything when it comes to this game. So it's like I definitely want to basically find as much as I can and like play it on stream. So I've been meaning to actually just play the whole game on stream, because like it's been a while since I played it from start to finish, and it's just one of those things where I like to do it like every once a year, once every 2 years if I can, and it's just it's great. But any other questions on that? Okay, moving on.
The convention center is now closed. Please vacate. You are not welcome here. Exhibit merchandise is off limits. Your curiosity will end here. I will escape like a rat.
Has anybody played this? Oh my god. Okay, so the Volverland Expo is an ad. It is an ad. But it's some might consider it not a game, but those people are dumb and should be ashamed at every street corner, because it's an ad, but it's also a game, and also it's really fun at the same time. It is essentially, the idea is, in the wake, it was announced, if anybody watch like the Devolver E3 shows every now and or every year, if you do, they've kind of been establishing this mythos, this lore within Devolver Digital. It's a publisher. If you're not aware, they did Hotline Miami. At first they published Fall Guys. I think they recently stopped publishing it. But like the point is they publish a lot of very kind of not exactly games that are on the forefront, but like kind of like games that might not normally get published by the main guys, I guess you could say. And they, in light of 2020 and the disappointment that it was for practically everyone on Earth, because they couldn't exactly do an in-person show at E3, which normally let's just be real, normally they don't do an in-person show at E3 anyway, but because they couldn't do anything like that anyway, they decided they were going to make like an expo that you could play at home. So it's a marketing simulator set within an abandoned convention center, where you're given this, like, I guess you could call it a gun, but it's really just like it's a gun that's specifically made to turn off the robots that are trying to kill you. And it's a short little experience, and it's an ad you're gonna be advertised to. Let's just be real, but it's in a fun way. So it's like, I actually have been trying to be like, I want them to do like this every single year and like just change it up with the games, you know? I think that would be really fun. But yeah, I think this is the future of marketing. Questions on Devolver Digital Devolverland?
Does the lady come out in the game?
No, she doesn't, unfortunately. I wish that she was a character. That would be hilarious. But that much is not. There is no actual characters. That's probably why it was so easy for them to just push it out, because it was like the only real characters are the security bots and then the player character, and then the rest is just like, hey, watch this trailer for this game called Weird West, you know, and it's fantastic though. I genuinely enjoy it, and of course, as I mentioned earlier, I included it here because there's not enough free games, and I think there needs to be more. So go play this. It's on Steam for free, and yeah. So, Buddy Simulator 1984, anyone play this one? Okay, Buddy Simulator 1984 is one of the more recent games in my kind of gaming repertoire, I guess. It's included in the latest episode of Indie Impact. And it is developed by Data Sailor Studios, published also by them. And so this is a very, very interesting one because, as you can see, it starts off as like a text-based adventure game where you have to kind of be like, go shed, go playground. And it's like an old school, I don't know exactly the technical term for it would be, just text-based adventure. And the kind of the AI behind it, who created it, is like, okay, I'm basically going to create this, a new game for us, basically. And so, at some point, all of a sudden, it switches from text-based to a kind of a 2D, I hesitate to say Earthbound because, earlier I said that it was a big joke, the whole Earthbound depression thing, but that's basically what it is. It's, top-down 2D adventure exploration game where you get to kind of interact with various townsfolk and, solve mysteries and stuff like that. And then, and I won't tell you the reasons for it because it's a little bit of a spoiler, but I will say at some point it switches from that to like a 2.5D adventure game, and then it switches from that to a first-person like dungeon crawler like Elder Scrolls Arena. So it literally changes genres at several points in the game based on just various story points in the game, right? And it was just a really interesting. It's only like 5 hours. It's only like a 5-hour game. It's super, easy for you to get, through it in a day or two. But it's one of those games where I think it's worth $10 because of the fact that I just genuinely enjoyed it. It was one of those games where I was playing it, and I was like, I felt like, how do I put it? It's a game that gives you chills, but also at the same time it's very heartwarming. It's like an Undertale style game where like you feel for these characters despite the fact that you know they're not real, but you also are worried that they're gonna snap at any minute and just completely wreck shop, And I just really enjoy the way that Not a Sailor Studios was able to craft such an interesting world that can be summarized in just a couple of hours, I guess. It's available on PC for $10. Definitely give it a shot. I think that you'll really enjoy it. Questions on this one? Okay. Well, that is pretty much all we've got today. Unfortunately, I must now tell you, the doors are locked and you must subscribe to me before you can leave. Do you want to play a game? No. But that being said, I really would love your support. If you have a YouTube channel and you'd like to keep up with me, or even on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, I'm going to start streaming soon, hopefully. And yeah, thank you all for coming, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your con. And on your way home, if you are going out of state or out of town, just be safe, and I hope to see you all at a future con.